So now we're going to talk about first aid. We kept them safe by their actions, the 8 rules we went over. And now we're going to talk about first aid. How can we keep them safe from a first aid standpoint? First, we talk about reporting to the nurse. Any child that asks to go to the nurse must be taken to the nurse. Unless the nurse specifically tells you, don't take this child to me or whatever, then you wouldn't. But that's very rare. So every child needs to go to the nurse if they ask to go to the nurse. And that can be a pain because some kids every 2 seconds want to go to the nurse, they want to go for this, but we want to err again on the side of safety. We want to keep the kids safe. So if that's the case, then just take them to the nurse, okay? We practice universal precautions when it comes to treating people. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that we consider everybody to be contagious, okay? So all bodily fluids, blood, vomit, soil bedding, all those types of things we consider to be contagious. Therefore, all wounds on yourself, if you get a wound on yourself, or on the children, must be properly covered with some type of bandage, okay? Also, hand washing is very important in preventing disease from getting spread around. So we want you to wash your hands, and when you're washing your hands, we want you to put them on the running water and soap and use friction, okay? This is not washing your hands underneath the sink. Use some friction, get all the stuff off. And the same thing if you're having kids wash their hands for some reason, make sure that they're doing the same thing. For kids, just looking at water means that they've just get cleaned, and that's not the case. Okay, so hands should be washed before and after any physical care is given. So if you're helping someone that has a cut or whatever, you want to make sure your hands are clean, okay? When possible, have the child or whoever is injured deal with their bodily fluid. For example, if a child has a bloody nose, have them hold the nose in the tissue as opposed to you holding it. Or if they have a cut, have them apply the Band-Aid as opposed to you applying the Band-Aid. Now, bodily fluid can contaminate your body through cuts, through your eyes, through your mouth, and any other similar openings. Therefore, when you're dealing with bodily fluids, you want to make sure you get some type of barrier between you and the fluid, okay? And a barrier can be anything such as gloves, clothing, or gauze pad, okay? And we'll talk about that a little bit later also, where you can get those items, all right? If you need to thoroughly clean all surfaces, whether it's the carpet, the floors, the table, body parts, clothing, that were exposed to bodily fluids as well. So make sure when you're dealing with any of those things, you want to wear your gloves, okay? So we practice universal precautions when it comes to people. We consider everyone as being contagious. Next, first aid item is all first aid, when at all possible, needs to be taken care of at the first aid station. And when you get to camp, at the nurse's station, when you get to camp, we'll show you where the nurse's station is. Simple cuts and scratches, if you have to, can be taken care of right out on the field or wherever you're at, but then later you need to make sure that you go to the nurse's station so that she can make sure that there's nothing serious or there's no issues that they need to be concerned with that scratch or cut. If the injured person can't be taken to the nurse's station, then grab a support staff or an exec staff person and they will contact the nurse and the nurse will come out to wherever you are at. Now, in almost every case, the nurse needs to be the one that calls 911 in the serious cases. So if a person is seriously injured though, and they're not breathing, they're turning blue, and there's a tremendous loss of blood, then have someone call 911, because most of the exec staff and other support staff will have phones or walkie-talkies where they can get a hold of 911, and then make sure that the nurse is contacted right after that, because the nurse can get out there to take care of the issue, and then when 911 arrives, they can talk to 911 about what's going on. And during that time, if they're bleeding really bad, stop the bleeding, but make sure that you're using a barrier of some sort between you and the blood, okay? Never administer first aid if you don't know what you're doing. Leave that to the nurse or someone who does. Okay, next, the fanny pack. You will have a fanny pack if you're a team leader. Every single team leader will have a fanny pack. And in your fanny pack, you'll have things like I just talked about, gloves, gauze, and Band-Aids, things that you'll need if there's any injuries that you can take care of immediately. Also, you may have things like an inhaler or an EpiPen or some other type of medication that goes specifically with a child that'll be on your team. And the nurse, when you get to camp, will tell you if you have any of those, and will explain to you how to use them or why you have them and who they're for and those types of things. They'll inform you of all that. So there takes a little planning as well, because your team may be on free time and half your team wants to go here and half your team wants to go there. You have to make sure that the child who has that medicine in the fanny pack goes with the team leader that has the fanny pack with their medicine, so that if they need it, they can get it, okay? And the nurse will go over some more of that, and we'll go a little bit more of that at camp, okay? You're almost ready for your quiz. You're doing good, okay? Just stay awake a little bit longer. You're doing great, okay? Aerosols. Aerosols should never be sprayed inside a building. And if they are sprayed outside a building, you need to be away from all other people so that they don't get hit with the spray. Because there are people here that are asthmatic, and if they get hit with an aerosol, it'll cause an asthmatic reaction. We prefer people don't use aerosols at all, but if you have to, again, outside the building, far away from other people. Suntan lotion, another important first aid item. It sounds funny, it's a first aid item. However, the children and you are not covered with suntan lotion. We are out in the sun most of the day, and being in the summer, it's always hot and sunny. You can get burned, and since you're out there so long, you can get burned severely. So we want you to have suntan lotion on. For the kids, have the children put their own suntan lotion on. Most of them can. Watch that they do it. Don't let them say, oh yeah, I did it. Yeah. Make sure they did it. Watch that they did it. If they can't reach an area like maybe their lower back or mid back, you can have another child just put the suntan lotion on for them while you watch, just to make sure it's done. And most importantly, okay, you know who gets burned the most? Is support staff and team leaders. You know why? Because they made sure all the children had their suntan lotion on, but guess who forgot to put their suntan lotion on? That's right, the team leader. Whoops, I forgot to put suntan lotion on. Or the support staff. Whoops, I forgot to put my suntan lotion on. So please make sure that you're wearing your suntan lotion as well, so that you can be safe, okay? Medications, basically, real simple. All medications need to go to the nurse. No one should have medications in their room or any other place unless the nurse specifically says you can. So all medications, team leaders, support staff, exec staff, doesn't matter. Everybody goes to the nurse and says what type of medications they're on. And the nurse's station is always open, so if you have specific times you have to take medications, that's not a problem. You can always get to the nurse. Next is fluids. It's very important because it is the summer. It's going to be hot, hopefully very sunny, but even if it's not, it's still going to be warm, and you get running around. You need to drink your fluids. You need to drink water constantly. Better to stay away from the sugars and drink more water than anything, but it's very important that you drink your water. We will have water all over the campus. During the day, we'll have it out in the fields, wherever you're at. At night, we'll have it up in the boys' dormitory area. We'll have it up in the girls' dormitories. We have it in the tabernacle, so we'll have water all over the place for kids to be able to take water. If you ever see the jugs empty and you need water, please let one of the support staff know, because we want to make sure you're always hydrated. We don't want you to get dehydrated. You can get very sick. Next, I just want to say about abuse is that we are legally and morally obligated to report abuse. So if you suspect any abuse, basically the task is, if you suspect any abuse, you would go to the dean of team leaders, and they will deal with it from there. Very rarely do we have anything reported, but we have had to report abuse in the past. Again, like I said, it's rare. And normally what will happen, it'll be at an altar where a kid may say something to you, or to a leader in training might even hear it, or to some other person, or may come to you third person that another child heard about it. At that point, just tell the dean of team leaders, and they'll check into it and they'll take it from there. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit more at camp, but that's the basics to that. So safety. We serve the children by keeping them safe. That is our #1 concern, is keeping the children safe. Like I said in the beginning, if the children are not safe and you're not safe, it's going to be hard for God to move on their hearts, because they're going to be concerned about something else, and they're not going to be open to receiving from God. So that's why we wanted to cover this first. So in a minute, you're going to take the quiz, and I'm sure you're going to do really well on the quiz. And the quiz isn't just to prove how smart or whatever. You're not going to get a diploma or those types of things. but it's just to make sure you understand that safety is our #1 concern and what is my responsibility with safety. So I hope that this has helped. I hope the quiz will help you even maybe a little bit further to understand things. If you get to camp and you have questions about it, please let us know and we'll be glad to help you. Well, good luck on your quiz. I can't wait to have a great week of camp with you guys. God bless.